Good morning, all of you. So today we'll discuss about the collisions. Today it'll be all about the basics of collisions. Then, so type of collisions, then what method has to be solved whenever you encounter a collision problems. All that will be discussing. So basically, when to apply conservation of linear momentum, when not to apply. Then conservation of kinetic energy, when it will be conserved, when it will not be conserved. Then one more quantity called as coefficient of restitution that will help us to define the type of collisions that one. And after this we will go for studying the basic nature, means like in different types of collisions what is involved, means in C frame, center of mass frame, how that collision phenomena will occur, in the lab frame how that collision phenomena will occur. So this is about the all the basics of collisions that one. So this week we have a syllabus about the one-dimensional collision, impulse, all will be included. So before starting this collision, a basic idea of an impulse is needed. A basic idea of impulse needed. So let me introduce to impulse. Again, we are having next week in-depth impulse. So now a basic idea of impulse is needed. With the help of impulse, we can enter into the collision theory very easily. On paper, I can discuss collision, all that one. But to discuss statistical ideas, no conceptual ideas, we need an impulse concept. Let me first start with an impulse. Then paper discussion we'll do in the evening, because now if I do 2 hours, students will ask. So 1 hour actually is meant. So in the evening, I'll allot the time. Then we'll go for that paper discussion. Okay, now basically an impulse. So it is like the symbol will be J. So J the symbol. J is the symbol what we use. Linear impulse, better called linear impulse. Angular impulse, linear impulse, that we are going to discuss the linear impulse here. Now, as we know that the force F is equal to dp bar by dt. Then this F dt is equal to dp bar. Let me integrate on both sides. F bar dt is equal to dp bar. Then this is the interval of time. So 0 to delta t, you write it. This interval will be very small. This will be pi pf. Initial momentum of system, let it be pi. Final momentum, let it be pf. So therefore this will become j, or time being, let it be as it is. F bar dt 0 to delta t. This will be pf minus pi. So what is impulse? An impulse is equal to change in momentum. So this will be pi integral of f bar dt 0 to delta t equal to pf here. A very generalized form of this is pi plus that everything is what I'll call j equal to pf, or in generalized form is this one. Initial momentum equal to plus or minus j equal to plus or minus f, that one. The impulse can be positive or negative. So when an impulse acts on a body, there'll be a change in momentum. An impulse acts on a body, there'll be a change in momentum. So this can we rewrite once again. So pf minus pi, what it should be equal to delta p. When an impulse acts on a body, there'll be a change in momentum. Now, what is impulse? Force acting for duration of time. Again, there are 4 ways we can categorize. No, large force acting for small duration of time. So, which force, under what conditions an impulse is set up? Means first case, large force acting for small duration of time. Second one, large force acting for large duration of time. Third situation, small force acting for large duration of time. Fourth one, small force acting for small duration of time. Okay, under which force will set up an impulse? Only the large force acting for small duration of time, what happen will set up an impulse here. According to the basic definition, large force acting for small duration of time will set up an basically an impulse. This is something very important because now the idea of impulse matters a lot. So till now what happened, we're bothered about the force, but most of the problems in physics are involved with the impulse idea. That one means now there's a basic idea. So what are the examples of like impulse, sir? I'm pushing a body. I'll push a body for, I'll apply force of 10 Newton for 1 minute, or say like a for 10 minutes, or say like a for half an hour. Is it an impulse? You can use this formula, but don't call impulse. Still you can use this formula. There's nothing is there. Still what happened? The body is initially moving, you applied a force, and if you're applying a time varying force, substitute that, integrate. This impulse momentum equation is applicable irrespective of any of this force situation. I'm making clear. But what happened? We are calling the impulse when large force acting for small duration. A good example, carom board. You'll strike the striker, no? You'll push the striker. So there, what happen? Are you permitted the push to push the striker till hole, or only at that point you have to strike and take out your finger? Only you have to strike out and take it out. And giving slap, giving punch, in cricket, hitting the ball with bat, in football, kicking, or you can do one thing, just strike the wall, or strike the table like this. This is an impulse. Or clapping, or say like a clapping. All these are the impulsive. Impulse means like large force acting for small duration of time. Now I'm pushing my hands, that one. You can see that one. I'm pushing it. This will not be impulse. This should be an impulse. That one. So like this you do it. This will be impulse here. Slap it. This will be impulse. Are you getting the idea now? So we have plenty of examples of an impulse here. So there is a force acting for certain amount of time, and suddenly force acting. It makes a lot of difference. So we are categorizing that nature of force now, which is going to act here. I'm just making things simple. We are categorizing the nature of force that is acting. Okay, fine. Now, how to, this is about definition. What can be unit for impulse? What are the units for impulse? What are the basic units for impulse here? Force into time, so Newton second, or momentum, kg meter per second. Either of things you can use, kg meter per second. So this is the unit for Newton seconds or kg meter per second. This is the unit for an impulse. Now then after this, okay, now what are the examples? Already I gave all these are the examples. So let's see that how to do numericals when impulse acts on your body. So let's take first an example. An object is at rest. An impulse acts on it. Then it starts moving. It starts moving. So then what is the impulse now? So I'll pick up this one, initial momentum, mu plus j equal to mv. Look at you initiate the test, m into 0. So what is the velocity of the body? How much of impulse applied by the mass will be the how much of impulse by the mass will give the final velocity. What is this time? Fraction of seconds, micro milliseconds, what when the force is applied. Next situation. If body already having initial velocity and an impulse acts, and it will acquire a resultant velocity v. Now the equation will become mu. How the impulse is acting in the direction of motion, in the direction of initial momentum. So therefore that impulse you have to take it positive. And finally look at the final momentum. It's there in the direction of initial momentum. So therefore that should be positive. So when to give sign, if the initial moment, if the final momentum in the direction of initial momentum, the final momentum should be taken positive. If the impulse acting on system is in the direction of initial momentum, then the impulse should be taken as positive. Now there's a body of block of mass m moving with a velocity u, and impulse acts in this direction. Then it will acquire velocity v. So then what is the equation? Mu minus j equal to plus mv. Why minus j? Opposite to initial momentum. Okay, next we'll take body is moving with a velocity u towards right, and impulse will act. Due to impulse, it will change direction of motion. So mu minus j equal to minus mb. Is it fine? So like this, the sign for j for initial impulse and final momentum depends upon with respect to initial momentum. Sir, what happens if the impulse doesn't act in the line of action of initial velocity? So let's take the two dimension. So if an object is moving, let me cover here only, so that when we go for two-dimensional collision, exclusively we need idea of these things. There's a block, it is moving on a surface. This one top view, this is top view. What we have seen all is this is side view. So here an impulse will act like this. This is the surface. Able to understand this? We are seeing it from top because there's a 3D, no? How mg will act into the plane of paper. Now because of this, the body, what will happen now, will move in a plane. Now along x-axis, mu, so this is jy, you write it, mu. Any impulse acts along x-axis, check it. Impulse along x-axis 0. So therefore, Vx mu plus j equal to mvx. So Vx equal to u. Then along y-axis, initial momentum along y-axis, impulse will act, and mvy. Initial velocity along y-axis 0, and jy is non-zero. So therefore, this will be m0 jy equal to mvy. Okay, like this, what happened? We are getting the required answers. How the body will move? Body will move in a plane. Suppose you are running. You are running in this direction. In school, you might have explained this. You are running in this direction. Somebody pushes you. What will happen? You will start moving like this, no? Am I right? You'll start moving like this, and that is what here. So what is that angle? Yes, you can determine. Once you know Vy and U, you can find out that angle. No? So what is the angle? How much of angle the direction of motion makes it? So this you can find out, theta. How to calculate theta? Tan theta equal to Vy by Vx. So this will discuss exclusively in two-dimensional collision. So just time being, I gave that one because now this week is only one-dimensional. So I'll stop the discussion for two-dimensional impulse here only. Just I gave idea, because any numerical, next week what we are going to focus on them. This week only one-dimensional collision. Okay, there's the overall basic idea of an impulse. So when impulse acts on a body, what do we expect? There'll be change in momentum. So how to identify whether impulse acts or not? How to identify that one? Directly check for forces. How to check forces acting or not? So whose help we have to take it? We should take help of Ohm. Again, the free body diagram. So go back to laws of motion, various forces that are acting. Then you can check that particular thing, whether impulse acts on a object or not. Okay, fine. So what is the basic idea? The impulse is very important to discuss the collision concept. Just I introduced briefly. Okay, let's come to the type of collision. Before type of collision, the two objects are there. They collide. These are the two spheres are there. They'll collide here. Now, when they collide, and what is the time for which they'll be in contact? Fraction of time. Suppose you throw a ball against a wall. For what time the ball will be in contact? For a fraction of time. So what we define is, we define a quantity called as a common normal. I think all of you know now what is a common normal. Common normal, common tangent. So what is the here common normal? I'll draw a common tangent. I'll draw a common tangent. Then perpendicular to common tangent is what? A common normal. And in what direction that normal contact force will act? The normal contact force will act in the direction of common normal. So this is common normal. Is it okay? So that normal contact will act in the direction of common normal. And for what time they'll collide object? For a small duration of time, no? So that n into delta t. What this system will produce now? Shall I say impulse? So when two bodies collide, so will there be any impulse set up by them? Yes, an impulse is set up. So this same thing now, we can now instead of n delta t, shall I write it is impulse which will act? So what is J? J should be equal to n into delta t. My voice is crackling. I'll check network connection. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can you be a bit louder, sir?
A bit louder. Huh? Just check your connection. Maybe everyone is saying clear voice. Okay, I'll speak loudly. Huh? Okay, thank you. That normal contact force will act for small duration of time, and that will set up an impulse here. So now, what is a common normal? Means common normal is a point which will act through common centers need not. Suppose if two objects are there. The colliding objects, let it be of different shape. Where the center of this will be here. Center of this will be here. So there are two lines are there. So this is the common normal. This will be the common tangent. This is the common tangent. This is a common tangent. Then what about the common normal? Common normal will come here. And we do have another line. So what it is, it's a line passing through the common centers. Are you getting now? So then which one should be called as common normal? The red color line. So here this is a common tangent. Shall I write in short? Common tangent, common normal. And what about this line passing through the centers? So looking at this first diagram, so we should not conclude that what is a common normal? It's a line joining It's a line passing through the centers of the colliding objects. It's maybe it is in this case, because you look at the centers here. This was the center C2 and C1. What about here? Common, I think you know enough mathematics here. There's a normal. So here the red color line is a common normal. So how the impulse will act? The impulse here will act on the object in this direction. I think now we have to be very careful, no? When two objects collide, what is the foremost condition we have to bring it? Where is a common normal? How is the common normal? Along common normal only, the normal force will act. Normal contact force will act. And the normal contact force acting for small duration of time will be impulse. Any arbitrary shape you can take. I just took this square and this one. So suppose even sir, like a two spherical objects, you take it. They'll collide. Now what about this? So this will be the centers. Now this should be the common normal, no? And what's happening to that common normal? It is passing to the center. So the spherical objects comes, I think little bit we have to be careful. When spherical object and other some square, rectangle or any other prism object comes, no, little bit we have to be alert. So here the line joining the common centers and common normal, both are same. So the impulse in what direction will act? Will act in this direction. Normal contact force will act here and the normal contact force will act here. So there is any definition for common, like a normal, we have to put it. Identify common tangent, then identify common tangent and a line perpendicular to common tangent will be common normal and the impulse will act along that common normal. It need not always act along line joining the center of the objects. Is it okay? Maybe. The impulse will always act along line joining the center of two objects. Maybe you have to put it. Here it's not possible. So no, this common normal, I'll give one more very good name. Line of impact. Is it okay, no? Line of impact. So what all we are going to discuss, no? The direction in which, the direction along which the impulse acts, it is called like a line of impact here. So in an entire collision, what happens, this line of impact becomes very important because along that direction only the impulse will be acting. So line of impact, so the word itself, impact means the direction along which the impulse that acts during collision is called a line of impact. They may test with all these basic things. Huh? They may test with all these basic things. So now, what do you mean by, so when you should take that collision phenomena where the bodies collide for small duration of time, then it should be taken as collision. If the two bodies are in contact and they were moving, I'll already we have seen this such numericals. I'll apply force and they're moving. Is it a collision? No, the two bodies in contact, they're moving, and of course, here normal contact will act here. So let me take for 1 hour, I'll post this for 1 hour that normal contact. So will you call this phenomena collision? The answer is no. So what is a collision? The two bodies are not in contact. They'll approach, uh, they'll collide, and again they lose contact. Or they may come in contact permanently. Two bodies moving together will not lead to a collision phenomenon. What do you mean by collision? The two bodies will come, they're not in contact, they'll come collide or they'll bang with each other. They may become one single body or they may get separated after collision. So that is called like a collision. Okay, let's go for now the, as our syllabus is one-dimensional collision. So let me stick on to that topic here. So there's a horizontal surface. So there are two bodies are there. So first we'll start with the elastic collision. Okay, there's an object m1. It is moving with a speed u, and the other object, let it be at rest. So let's analyze. So elastic collision. So this is like elastic bodies, perfect elastic bodies. So finally now, so this is a test. So this will come and collide. So we have to search for what all happens here. The moment they come in contact, so this will come in contact. When it comes in contact, anything should happen. The way, impulse will start acting. Impulse will start acting. What direction that impulse we have to take it. This is a test. The impulse will act. So next diagram I'll show that an impulse will act. And the moment impulse acts, what is impulse? Like a force, no? That normal force acting for small duration of time. So here, this is M1, M2, and impulse will start acting here. The moment impulse starts acting, so this will acquire some velocity, say V1 dash. And this will start moving V2 dash. And see that I shown some deformation. They'll undergo deformation. Then like this, the deformation will continue. V1 double dash, V2 double dash. And finally, how the shape, it all depends upon the type of bodies, everything. Huh? I'm just showing some rough diagrams. And at one instant, they'll have common velocity. Here, let me show that impulse like this. So this impulse, I'll give name deformation, I'll call it. What that impulse acts, no? I'll call this as impulse of deformation. Now, both will have common velocity. So you can say really we have enough concepts we have covered related to this. Sir, why they should have common velocity? We have enough discussion we have made. Spring block system. Elastic collision means you can treat like these two blocks are connected by a spring. So bring back that ideas what earlier we learned. Then after this, you go back to spring block system. I'll, I'll, I'll keep this particular. You can connect to spring to this or that one, either of one. So initially, spring is relaxed. Impulse of deformation. Impulse of deformation. Okay, now this spring, what will happen? It's relaxed, it will go and collide. So now the moment it starts come in contact, the spring will come in contact. Still it is relaxed. Now what it will do? It will compress, the spring will get compressed, so we'll get a spring force, kx1, kx1. Then this will start acquiring velocity v1 dash, v2 dash. So it was moving. Now the velocity will slightly change. No? V1 dash should be less than u because of spring force acting. Then again the spring will further undergo deformation. Please recollect all. So there's nothing to bother like, sir, why you are writing all this. So this will be kx2. So it will have v1 double dash, v2 double dash. And at one instant, both maximum compression. Tell me what should happen to the speed of the blocks. Both must have common velocity. Will I agree? This is the maximum compression. No? Tell me after this what will happen. No, both are having common velocity, both are having common velocity, maximum compression. I'm showing it like this, maximum compression. Both are having common velocity. Look at the spring force on the first block. It is acting towards left. So velocity of this will decrease. And what will happen to velocity of this will further increase. So shall I say it comes out of compression? It comes out of compression. So here what is the phenomena that will take place? It will be compression only, but not maximum compression. So here if I take it x3, kx3, so this will have velocity say v1 triple dash, v2 triple dash. Can you say anything about the x3? No, x3 will be less than xm. x2 will be same situation here also. So what we can make the bodies here now? They will start coming out of maximum compression here, maximum deformation. So now, so here shall I say it starts reforming natural length. What spring likes to be? Spring wants to be in natural length. Spring always wants to be in natural length. So this in it's a compression. This is also a compression. Please notice this because this is a concept. If once you have this rest all mathematics, very easy. This topic is very easy. Only the theoretical part clarity will not be there because books also didn't discuss exclusively all this one. Compression, maximum compression. So from maximum compression, not immediately natural length or maximum elongation. Maximum compression, compression decreases, then natural length, then again elongation, then elongation increases, maximum elongation, like this. That phenomena continues here. So since it is connected like this, no, it is not connected to block M2. We'll just proceed till here. Now after this, what should happen? There maximum compression. After maximum compression, again there'll be a compression only, no? So shall I say that the blocks got deformed? Now what they do? They'll try to come out of deformation. So after compression, the compression keeps on decreases. Tell me after this what will happen? Because this is not connected. The block M2 is not connected to spring. Only M1 is connected to spring. Please notice this. What is the sequence will take place after this? The theory I'm taking help of the blocks. What all the theory I'm trying to discuss now, I'm taking help of the spring block system. After this, what should happen? The blocks. I don't have space there, so shall we take like this? The blocks lose contact, compression keeps on decreases, and at one instant, if the velocity of the block is V2, velocity of the block is more than this, then it lose contact here. So here we'll have finally V1, this V2, and x equals 0. So altogether, what happened here? The blocks came, collided, or so like a spring got compressed, maximum compression, then compression decreases, and finally the block M2 will lose contact from the spring. The same situation here gets repeated. So after this, the velocity of this will be V1 triple dash, V2 triple dash. Here the impulse that acts, it will try to reform the bodies. One more, we'll take it. And finally, what will happen? The bodies. This will acquire velocity V1. This is V2. This I'll call only J. It will be much easier for us. This everything is what you can call process of reformation. This above one phenomena, you can call that as deformation. So what is JR and JD? JD is impulse of deformation. And what is JR? Impulse of reformation. Okay, what happens in the collision phenomena? The bodies come and collide, they'll undergo deformation. The deformation will be maximum here, maximum deformation here. Then again, they'll come out of the deformation. Then finally, they lose contact. Okay, let's see that. What is the net impulse acting on system? Total impulse. No, you know, or net force, you know, center of mass idea also. So this J, normal contact acting for small duration of time, is what? The impulse, no? What is the net force acting on system along x-axis? 0 plus JD, you see everywhere. Plus JD minus JD, plus JD minus JD. Here plus J minus J. Here what about plus JR minus JR? And finally, they lose contact. So what is the net force acting on system along x? 0. Or net impulse is 0. If impulse 0, momentum is conserved. Or force 0, momentum is conserved. Can I apply conservation of linear momentum? Yes, the answer is yes. We can apply conservation of linear momentum. So first equation I'm bringing. The net impulse acting on system along x-axis 0. So therefore momentum is conserved along, since we are discussing motion along x-axis, so I'm writing like this. Or if you're getting confusion with impulse, so write fx here. So what is the initial momentum of system? m1u, m1u, m1 v1 plus m2. Since we are discussing along x-axis, I'm not writing that v1 bar, v2 bar. So this is the conservation of linear momentum. So in collisions, can you apply conservation of linear momentum? The answer is yes, very much. Because net impulse acting during impact will be 0. Okay, after this, now what about, can we apply conservation of kinetic energy, not total energy, conservation of kinetic energy? Yes, it's an elastic collision. So what is elastic collision? The bodies, they come, they collide, they'll undergo deformation, they'll attain maximum deformation. Again, what happens? They will reform. So they'll retain shape. And finally, if you check it, no, the bodies, what will happen? No deformation. So no deformation is left out, or no residual deformation. No residual. Residual means, all of you, technical word, residual, leftover, no residual deformation. The bodies come, collide, undergo deformation, then they will come out of deformation completely. Then such collision is said to be elastic collision. And when I check it, initial kinetic energy, it's equal to final kinetic energy. So therefore here, initial kinetic energy equal to final kinetic energy. So m1 u square by 2 should be equal to m1 v1 square by 2 plus m2 v2 square by 2. How many unknowns are there? v1, v2. Solving equation 1 and 2, I'll get the required answer. So like this, what happens? If a collision occurs, elastic collision occurs, we can apply conservation of momentum, and kinetic energy is conserved. I should not say kinetic energy remains constant. Any reason for that? So we'll take help of, look at this. So what's happening to kinetic energy of system? It keeps on decreases. Kinetic energy, I'll write it in short, kinetic energy of system decreases. Here it will become minimum. Kinetic energy will be minimum. Here it will be minimum. Then again, what happens? The kinetic energy of system starts increasing. And this is the final kinetic energy. And this was initial kinetic energy. And what will happen? Initial kinetic energy is equal to final kinetic energy. So what's happening to kinetic energy of system? It decreases. Where that decrease in kinetic energy gone, converted into increase in potential energy. Sir, I'm not seeing any spring. If the body undergoes deform, nothing but what happens? Elastic potential energy increases. Or we call that as deformation energy. Here, that's why I just brought the spring idea. Are you getting that one? Here, in what form the energy is present, in what all form energy is present, in the form of kinetic energy and also deformation energy. The deformation energy, you can call it as elastic potential energy. So here, the deformation energy will be maximum. So the kinetic energy decreases, the decrease in kinetic energy got converted into increase in deformation of energy. Then again, the system starts reforming. Means the body starts undergoing, trying to retain the original shape. So the potential energy decreases, kinetic energy increases. Finally, what initial kinetic energy is, the same kinetic energy it will possess. So what about potential energy here? Will be zero. So therefore, what is the kinetic energy? Shall we say constant or conserved? Kinetic energy remains constant or is conserved. Kinetic energy is conserved, you have to say. If you say constant, I think there's a problem, no? So in elastic collisions, what happened to kinetic energy of system? Kinetic energy of system is conserved, not it varies. So it's not a constant. So in elastic collision, kinetic energy of system is conserved. That's all. But you should not say constant. Kinetic energy of in elastic kinetic energy of system is constant. Wrong statement, because it it is having some initial value, decreases, becomes minimum, then again increases, again attains the initial value. Finally, it attains the initial value. So therefore, conserved word is very important, not constant. Now, please do uh, analyze this. These are very important ideas. Because see, the whole 2 weeks will just revolve around this basic condition, nothing big. So no residual deformation. These are very important. Okay, let's see that how to calculate that deformation energy. Can we calculate that deformation energy? So I'll take help of these two. So let's take one example rather than this. So there are two objects are there. It is moving with a velocity, initial velocity v naught, and let this be at rest. This is the first object, second object. They'll collide. So I want the maximum deformation energy or minimum kinetic energy of system. So when they come and collide, here they will start, impulse will act, and finally at one position, both will move with a common velocity. So here if you want, you can show like deformation. Then again, I have to show deformation. No? So here it will be V1 double dash, V2 double dash. Just show that impulse, don't bother. Reformation, deformation, or we'll do one thing. Why to confuse you? Finally, what will happen? I'll see that this will come to rest. This will be moving with the same speed. So here is what kinetic energy will be minimum. The deformation energy, I'll write ED. This will be maximum. What is ED? Deformation energy or potential energy. How to calculate that? I'll apply conservation of linear momentum. From where? From the initial to the final, and the initial. Between initial and the point where they will have a common velocity. That's how you can say here only the deformation maximum. Go back to spring block system. At maximum elongation or compression, what should be the velocity of the ends of the spring? Should have common velocity, and that should be equal to velocity of center of mass. recollect those ideas are very important. Applying conservation of momentum, mv naught should be equal to m1. Masses are same, no? We took same masses. M plus m into v. So what is v equal to? V naught by 2. Let's calculate the initial kinetic energy. Should be to kinetic energy at deformation or minimum kinetic energy plus maximum deformation energy. What is the initial kinetic energy? M v naught square by 2. Minimum kinetic energy m plus m, mass of the system v square by 2 is equal to maximum deformation energy. So let's calculate this. M v naught square. This will be only mv square. What is v equal to? V naught by 2. Oh, just wait, some symbols here. It should be like this. Huh? What I'm conserving here? Anybody? Total energy should be conserved, no? Don't say kinetic energy is conserved. Again, I'm making things very specific. What was the initial energy of system? Kinetic energy. Then at maximum deformation, the energy will be there in the form of kinetic plus also potential energy. So total energy is conserved. Total energy remains constant. Energy is always conserved, no? So here kinetic energy remains constant is a wrong concept. The total energy is conserved here. So that I'm applying it here. So now solving this, how much will get? This is equal to ED is equal to mv naught square by 4. What was the initial kinetic energy? mv naught square. What was the initial kinetic energy? mv naught square. So shall we write it half of this one? So what is the maximum deformation energy? How much it is? Which is half of the initial kinetic energy. So at this
Sir,
particular point,
you missed a half over there, sir.
okay, I'll check calculation once. So this should be half mv square half m plus m. Mass of the system is m plus m, no? 2m v square by 2.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I made a
Okay,
mistake.
check it. Yeah. Okay, fine. So this is the maximum deform or minimum kinetic energy. How much will be? Half of the initial. Or what is maximum deformation energy will be this much. Sir, you took masses same. I'll take 1 kg, 2 kg. Okay, you do try it. Yeah, this is one example. I'm telling this one for this given situation. So how to calculate that maximum deformation of energy during collision? There's a method. Maximum deformation energy, or some books they call it as potential energy. Both are same. Okay, this is what overall happens in elastic collision. So kinetic energy remains constant is the wrong statement. Kinetic energy is conserved is what the statement I'm giving this particular proof. Now, so like both are moving, then both are moving also, then only at one instant both will have common velocity. What is the condition? The velocity of the one should be more than 2, then only can collide, no? Then only it can collide. So here to study this collision, so I'm to study the nature of collision. What happened? Definitely I need one parameter. So that I'll call it as coefficient of restitution. I'll go for now. So let me consider. So these are the objects are there. M1, it is moving with the initial velocity U1. This M2, U2. This is before collision. They'll collide, and finally what happens? They'll be moving with a velocity V1 and this V2. And here I should put a condition U1 greater than U2. Then only the first body will go and collide. So this is before collision. This is after collision. In short, I'll write it. Before collision, this is after collision. Collision occurred. So let's apply some conservation of linear momentum. M1 U1 plus M2 U2 should be equal to M1 V1 plus M2 V2. Can we conserve kinetic energy? Yes. So therefore, initial kinetic energy, conservation of kinetic energy. So from that, M1 U1 square by 2. I'll first let me rewrite because I'm trying to go for some. So this will be M1. I'll take M1 U1 plus M2 U2. So this will be M1 U1 minus V1 M2 V2 minus U2. Call this equation 1. Now conservation of kinetic energy. M1 U1 square by 2 plus M2 U2 square by 2 M1 V1 square by 2 M2 V2 square by 2. 2, let's eliminate. U1 square minus V1 square. V2 minus U2, V2 plus U2. So let this be the equation 2. Let me divide these two equations. So M1 dividing 1 and 2. I'm just doing some mathematics. Let's see that what I'll end up. With what I'll end up is what? Dividing 1 and 2, I'll get U1 plus V1 should be equal to V2 plus U2. Or this I'll rearrange. U1 minus U2 is equal to V2 minus U2, or this will be further minus of okay, the ratio of this you check it now. So minus of I'm getting equal to 1. So what is V1 minus V2? Looking at the diagram, relative separation, relative velocity of separation. And what is U1 minus U2? Relative velocity of approach, because U1 minus U2 will make it to approach. And further what will happen? V2 minus V1 will make them to separate. Say V2 greater than V1, then only it gets separated. And U1 greater than U2, then only it make that collide. So that V2 minus V1 will make them to separate, and U1 minus U2 will make them to approach. And since it's a difference, so relative velocity of separation, and what about this relative velocity of approach here? So this quantity, I'll redefine it. So 1 is equal to minus of this relative velocity of separation by relative velocity of approach. This particular ratio, what will happen? It's independent of the masses here. So as long as the elastic collision, it must be equal to 1. So I'll call this particular thing as now quotient of restitution. I'll define it. restitution. This is that one only what pen I'll give a name for it. Relative velocity of separation by relative velocity of approach. Means now something very important. So like I will choose different masses. Means I'll begin this problem with 2 kg, M1 2 kg, M2 4 kg. I'll project with the same speed. Then they'll collide. I'll acquire some velocities, V1, V2, some velocities. Again, I'll solve like what you said. Will I get that ratio 1? Yes. Again, here what I do, instead of the 2 kg, 4 kg, I'll make it this as 3 kg, this is 1 kg. And I'll project with the same velocities. They will have some velocities. So whatever the velocities are like that, and let it be elastic collision. So you do this for different velocities of different masses. Finally, you'll end up with some quantity equal to 1. So therefore, it is some quantity which is for elastic collision, you'll end up with 1. So that particular quantity, we'll call it as quotient of restitution. See, Newton, what happened? It took almost 3 years for him to conclude this. So what he did is like first he took M1 2 kg, M2 4 kg. You just read the autobiography of Newton, no? The way, not suddenly one day he got an idea, nothing wrong. Constant thinking on a subject is what science and technology that we are missing nowadays. Nowadays, what happened? It has become instantaneous process. Constant thinking on any given subject, you'll get a knowledge. You'll get a knowledge, that's all over. Constant thinking, that constant thinking is missing. So it has become now instantaneous. By seeing what happened, we want answer. So there we are losing track. This is my sincere request. With folded hands, I am requesting to students that effort must be there. Constant effort means constant thinking. As one or the other day, you will reach the solution. So you read Newton's autobiography. That one is a life one. No, it's very rare available. Almost 3 years he was thinking on this, not one day. 3 years, almost for 8 to 10 years. So he wanted to be away, no. So it used to be a room. There used to be a small window and bathroom. Through that window, what happened? He used to get a food. He used to go for bathroom. And Europe, London is a very cold country. No, maximum temperature is 16. So and definitely what happened? For 3-4 days, he used to take a bath. And almost for 3 months, he didn't come out of that room because he was constantly analyzing what happened this. And not like thinking means not like some on chair. At that time, there was deficiency of paper. So so what happened? What he used to do is like if we scribble more, there'll be waste of things. No? So maximum used to analyze, and very difficult things used to put on like a board. That one constant thinking. So he just if you read, no, in the end what happened? Yes, put it that one. I'm able to find out all these things. The only reason is not I'm talented. I just put effort. Constant effort, just analyzing things. Then what happened? One day I reached the solution. This is what he commented. So this is a very nice statement, no? Inspiration for everyone. Means who will shine in science and technology? The one who will put effort, irrespective of intellectual power, intellectual of memory, concentration levels. There's a wrong perception that he should only is a topper. Okay, you will only get a rank. Need not. Anybody can get, and anybody can become a scientist. Anybody can become good engineer. The student who is a topper, what is the reason for? Because he is putting constant effort. Not something like he is a born. Nobody will get intellectual by birth, all by effort only. So a student is a topper means what? He is putting effort. He's putting more effort than others. He's using different methods. Please do understand. This is like this topic is very important because if I just end up 3 years it took for him. So what he did is he didn't strike him. So what he did is he changed masses 2 kg, 3 kg. Then what happened 4 kg, 1 kg. Like that M1, M2 different masses and projected with different speed everywhere. He satisfied this condition U1 greater than U2. When he checked it, no, he ended up with one fixed value equal to 1. So there's something is relation. So this 1 is not some just mathematical integer. You call that as quotient of restitution. Are you getting the idea? That one is this one. So this negative sign, nothing to do. If you want to eliminate negative sign, you write it v2 minus v1. v2 minus. So like this, we defined it. Now this value of for elastic collision, this quotient of restitution will be equal to 1. So what is the symbol for quotient of restitution? E. And for elastic collision, E is equal to 1. So every time we need not to do like this, directly check the value of E and proceed here. How to check the value of E? So further, I think we can calculate V2, V1, and we can make it out. And now let's come for this. Any other way of defining things? So I'll go back to this one. It's a ratio of impulse of reformation to impulse of deformation. What is impulse of reformation? The impulse that acts from maximum deformation to the final. What all that impulse acts from maximum deformation to the final state? Impulse of reformation. The body undergoes reformation. What all that impulse acts from initial position to maximum deformation? There is a deform, no? So the body undergoes here deform. Here it undergoes reform. So the ratio of impulse of deformation to minus JR by JD. Or this is ratio of impulse of reformation to. I'll leave it to student. If you want interested, you can put today effort. You can show that it is a ratio of impulse of reformation to impulse of deformation. So this ratio, it depends on them. So in elastic collision, what happened to JR equal to JD, it will become. JR will magnitude, JR will become equal to, JR will be minus of JD, that one. So JR will become equal to JD, magnitude in elastic collision. So like that, what happened? The idea of quotient of restitution, we have brought it. So let me go for inelastic collision now. Inelastic collision. The value of E will be between 0 and the value of will be with 0 and 1. So what actually happens in elastic? So what all we have to conclude about that one? So this object moving with a speed u, and let this be at rest. A simplified thing. So they'll come and collide. So after collision, they'll undergo deformation. The deformation I'll show like this: M1, M2. Here, impulse of deformation will act here. Because of this will acquire some velocity. Say V1 dash, V2 dash. Why V2 dash? Because the impulse start acting, and it will start pushing it, and somewhere they'll undergo maximum deformation will occur. Call this J like this. Then the impulse of reformation starts acting. V1 dash, V2 dash, and finally, so here just make some observation. look at the initial shape of the object and final. So this is the V1. So what is the net impulse acted on system? 0. So can I conserve momentum? Yes, here also I can apply conservation of linear momentum, inelastic collision. So initial momentum equal to final momentum. So m1 u1 is equal to m2 v1 plus m2. Since all are along x-axis, I'm not showing that bar. When I go and check the final kinetic energy, it will be less than initial kinetic energy. Kf will be less than ki. Where do that energy gone? Converted into the loss in kinetic energy, converted into either deformation of the bodies or heat or sound energy. So the loss in kinetic energy, is converted as increase in potential energy of bodies. What all can happen? Increase in potential energy of bodies or heat generated sound energy or even light energy. So in elastic collision, the decrease in loss in kinetic energy, what will be it converted? It can be converted only increase in potential energy of bodies. You can see some deformation is retained. You can see some deformation is retained. Or some sound will come. I think just throw a stone or throw any object. I'm dropping my mobile. Why sound came? Inelastic collision occurred. The decrease in kinetic energy got converted into sound energy. It will be generated. Some cases deform. You do one thing, take some any like a body which can undergo deform, like a floor, hata, mix water, something, throw it. So after collision, what will undergo deform? No, increase in potential of bodies. Heat will be generated in some cases. Sound maximum, what we notice, and light energy also. You do one thing, night you go and look at any boulder, big boulder. You take some stone. When you strike it, you'll get a spark. You get a light spark. So nothing but a part will can also be converted as light energy. So what will happen? All four can happen, or any two, any three. So there's nothing. It all depends upon the situation. If the rigid body is almost very near to rigid body, increasing potential energy very less. Then the decreasing potential, decreasing kinetic energy of system will be converted into either sound or light. If the body is less rigid, then what happens? The light will not be possible. You take some soft object or you take any sponge ball, you throw it against wall. We don't get light energy, and we hardly get sound energy. The maximum will be increase in potential. It all depends upon the type of surfaces which they come and collide. With the bodies which are almost rigid, they collide, we get these two, sound, light. If the bodies are near to elastic, then we'll get these two, or sometimes all four. So it all depends upon the nature of colliding bodies, like which energy will be dominant. This is what happens in the inelastic collisions here. Means now, sir, can I apply still the same formula? Yes, even the formula is applicable. Quotient of restitution here also. So what is the formula? E is equal to velocity of separation by velocity of approach. Of course, u2 is 0 in this particular given thing. Substitute here, you get it. So when you check this and check the value of E, you'll end up with less than 1. But sir, how do I come to know? Because V1, V2 are unknown. What is the only thing that will help us? Conservation of linear momentum. But if you check it here, both V1, V2 are unknown. What about other equation? The other equation, practically they verified it. When they checked V1, V2, and they checked the initial kinetic energy, final kinetic energy. Final kinetic energy less than initial kinetic energy. So some energy lost, where it has gone. Okay, some other form. Then after getting the final kinetic energy, they brought V1, V2, and the substituted here, they got E less than 1. So with this, what I can conclude now, the value of E for inelastic collision will lie between 0 and 1. Elastic collision equal to 1. Inelastic, anywhere between 0 and 1. And for any collision, you can define it. There's nothing problem here also. So now here after inelastic collision comes. Conservation of linear momentum. Yes, you can apply. Conservation of kinetic energy. No. Then how to calculate V1, V2 unknown? Quotient of restitution formula. I think this is going to really help us a lot. This is really going to help us a lot here. So some deformation converted as increase in potential of body, or some deformation will be retained. This is what happens in inelastic collisions here. Okay, after this we'll go forward. Now we'll go for the perfect inelastic collision. We don't have perfect elastic, just elastic, that's all. Elastic means equal to 1. Elastic, perfect inelastic, E will be 0. The two objects they're moving with a velocity u1, u2, so they'll undergo collision and they'll move with a common velocity. Then can I conserve momentum? Yes, initial momentum equal to final momentum. So m1 u1 plus m2 u2 equal to m1 plus m2 into v. And what is that v? Velocity of center of mass. So after collision, the objects will move with a common velocity that is equal to velocity of center of mass only. What is v? V is also you can call velocity of center of mass. Getting the idea? So this is nothing but equal to velocity of center of mass here. Now, if you check Kf, Kf will be less than Ki. What happened at delta K? The decrease in kinetic energy got converted into heat, potential energy, or sound, or light. It all depends upon nature of bodies, that which energy will be dominant. What is value of E? E will be 0, because what is the velocity of separation, relative velocity of separation? 0. So the value E will become 0. Perfect inelastic. And there's no rule that for E equal to 0, the body should stick to each other. When we go for two-dimensional collision, you can see that though they collide, they don't stick to each other. In one-dimensional collision, they must stick to each other. So in 1D collisions, for E equal to 0, the bodies will stick together. The bodies will stick. Okay, we'll do one thing. The bodies will get stuck and move with a common velocity. And move with a common, what is that common velocity? Velocity of center of mass. In two dimension, they need not to stuck together. Later on in the two dimension we'll discuss. Now it's not needed. Just have an idea. In one dimension, yes, perfect inelastic collision, they'll stick together and they'll move with a common velocity. What all the decrease in potential get converted into any of the form, depending upon the type of colliding bodies. Okay, let's focus on that quotient of restitution. Once again, we'll come back. The value of E, quotient of restitution, what all depend. Nature of, so like a E will define now. Analysis of E. Well, it depends on the material, the type of material, anything. So shall we? I'll put point wise, independent of shape, independent of shape of colliding objects. Independent of mass of colliding objects, mass of colliding objects. Exclusively depends on nature of material of colliding objects. Depends on nature of pair of objects, not for one object. We never define E for a object, for a pair of objects. Now suppose a wood collides with a wall. The wood and wall will have that, it's a pair. Then wood and glass, that pair will have value. So now what is another thing? Different pairs will have different values. It is defined for a pair of object, not for one object. For wood, what is E? Meaningless question. Wood glass, how much of E? Wood rubber, how much of E? Stone glass, how much of E? This is very difficult quantity to measure. So we have one more method of measuring it. The quotient of restitution. Of course, this is in elasticity, we'll study this one. The quotient of restitution is directly proportional to the yield strength by elastic modulus. Surprise, there may be questions for you. You have to be careful. So when we discuss elasticity, I'll introduce, because now we don't know anything about elasticity. This is one more way of predicting the quotient of restitution. Later in elastic chapter, I'll stress it now. The E is directly proportional to under root of yield strength by elastic modulus here. Okay, this is a basic idea of the quotient of restitution. So it should be different for different pair of objects here. And then what actually happens during collision? So there's a graph, there's like a force. So the moment the bodies come in contact, this is one. So let's go back. There are two objects are there. They are going to collide, and after collision, they'll be moving and they'll come in contact during collision. Then a force will act, no? Impulse of deformation. V1 dash, V2 dash. Then they'll attain common velocity, and again impulse of maximum deformation. Then impulse of reformation. So there's a way of thinking on a problem. Your collision phenomena always you should analyze. And finally, they'll move it along. So this is before collision. This is after collision. If force is acting, no, that force as a function of time, I'll plot it. And what is this time? This time you have to call it as deformation time, delta TD. And this particular time, reformation time. So that delta TD is what I'll write it here. And this is delta TR. Let's go back to the definition of impulse. So what is impulse? Force into time. So area under FT graph, what it will give? Impulse. Will I agree this? Area under FT graph, because what is the basic definition of impulse? Impulse is equal to integral of f of dt. Can you remember? This should be equal to change in momentum. So this is what the impulse. So what is impulse equal to? Area under ft graph. So we do have areas. This is area 1. This is area 2. So what is another way of measuring quotient of restitution? I'll plot the force exerted by one object and another object. Sir, now you have to ask me, sir, this F is what? Force acting on first object or second object? I think now you know enough of laws of motion. Tell me, what is this F? Force exerted by one object, first object on second object, or second on first object? Either one, no? Because according to Newton's law, like equal and opposite forces. So you take any one object, either M1 or M2, just study the nature of force that is acting. So it will increase. Now it will increase, then becomes maximum, then decreases. So that force acting for duration of time is what we say impulse. I plotted like this. So I am getting a graph like this here. So area under FT graph is what the impulse, no? According to this. So what is the one more definition for impulse here we are bringing? Impulse is equal to area in force versus time graph. What is the definition of impulse? Area, the impulse of deformation by impulse of, sorry, impulse of reformation by impulse of deformation. What is impulse of reformation here? Area under FT graph. So shall I directly go for area A2 in FT graph, area A1 in FT graph. If these two areas are equal, what does it mean? What type of collision? The negative sign will get eliminated. JR will be negative. When you calculate, JR will be negative. So don't bother that negative sign, because like a JR will be negative sign will come when you calculate. Okay, now let's come for this one. For elastic collision, for E equal to 1, A2 will be equal to A1. For inelastic collision, what should be A2? A2 should be less than A1. For perfect inelastic collision, what happens? The A2 should be 0, no? A2 should be 0 means finish, or afterwards the force ceases and they'll move with a common velocity. So now, so when collision occurs, if you plot the force acting on any one object as a function of time, then you'll get some graph of like this. With this graph, what can we calculate quotient of restitution? Yes, calculate directly the area under FT graph. Sir, how to identify which is like a A2 and A1? So we know here at this particular point what happened? They'll be moving with a common velocity, you know. So what happened to magnitude of force? It increases, becomes maximum, then start decreasing. Where it start decreasing, what happened? You break up. You break up that graph. You break up that curve into two parts. I shown blue and yellow color shaded line. So this will lead to impulse of reformation, deformation. This will lead to impulse of reformation. So there's one way of asking question for us. What is that? By area under FT graph, the force acting as a function of time on any one object. If I plot that graph, from that also we can determine quotient of restitution.
Sir, sir, the graph will touch the x-axis at delta TR, no, sir? After delta TR.
It will touch it. It will become 0, no? Okay, that you want to. Because afterward they lose contact, no? F should be 0.
Yes, sir.
I'm just giving all theoretical ideas. You have plenty of good questions related to all this basic thing. Okay, now we have three types of collision. I'll introduce the fourth type of collision where E will be greater than 1. In books, they didn't suggest it, but it can happen. E greater than 1 means what happened? Means during collision, if energy is released, and that energy what happen if it is given to an object, taken by the objects, then definitely it will lead to that one. So we don't have any much numerical based on this, but it's practically possible. Books what happened, we didn't upgrade it. After 1950, they did experiment and where they have a situation where E greater than 1 also will come. Because when they plotted the graph, this A2 was greater than A1. How it happens? So during collision what happens, some internal energy of the object will be converted into increase in kinetic energy. And area A2, what happened? It became A1. We do have experimental analysis. In our books, what happened? We don't discuss. Theoretically, yes, E will be greater than 1 possible. Is possible, practically possible. Is practically possible. Okay, fine. So this is we don't discuss any numericals, no numerical discussion. I'm making clear because it's an total an experiment is there. So we don't, it's not there for our syllabus, just leave it. Theoretically, if they ask you, SE can be greater than 1 also. So is it elastic collision? Need not. It's an inelastic collision only. Still what happen? E will be greater than 1. So in that case, what will happen? When I go and check it, no, KF will be greater than KI. Let's come for this. E can be greater than 1. KF less than KI will be. KF can be greater than KI also. Energy will be available. The kinetic energy of the elements will be greater than. So from where that will come? Some due to like a internal energy of system, what will get converted into increase in kinetic energy. So one exclusive experiments are there. So don't bother about E greater than K. It's not there for syllable, but theoretically they can suggest, they can ask you. It's practically possible. Now, what do you mean by inelastic collision? Kf not equal to Ki is inelastic collision. So I'll make the definition here, friends. So here of inelastic collision means inelastic collisions. What does it mean? Kf not equal to Ki. That's all. It can be Kf less than Ki or Kf can be greater than Ki. It's an example I can't give. It's an experiment. If it were, I would have given. No, it's an experiment, and we don't have the time to discuss that experiment. It will take some 2-3 hours. And just a theoretical proposal is what there. It's an experiment. It's available, which is not there for syllabus. No, I had to bind myself to the syllabus. Okay, don't get attracted with these things. Just this information. Just remember. Now, what is the advantage of this quotient of restitution? Let's go for. Let's take directly one problem. So there's a wall. There's a wall. It is moving with a velocity, say 6 meters per second, and there's a ball of mass m moving with 2 meters per second. Let quotient of restitution, let me define it as 0.4. They'll collide. I want the velocity of the ball after impact. Find the velocity of ball just after impact. Shall we apply conservation of momentum? Because momentum is conserved, no, in any situation. So applying conservation of momentum. What is the mass of the wall? Mass of the ball, let it be 1. Mass of the wall, let it be mw. I'll apply conservation of linear momentum. Initial momentum equal to final momentum. What is initial momentum? 6 mw by minus 2m1. After collision, I'll write it here. Let me put the diagram. After collision, what do we expect the wall? Wall will continue to move with same velocity. The ball will rebound. That we have to calculate. You call this as u1, this is u2. Initial momentum is equal to final momentum. Initial momentum 6m w minus 2m1 should be equal to final momentum 6 mw minus of m1 v1. What is mw? Mw is what? Mass of the wall, no? Which will be infinity. So you should not bring infinity. Finally, what will happen? This infinity equal to infinity. We can't solve, no? Don't cancel out. Huh? Mathematically, many students will cancel out. If you cancel, then what you get? V1 equal to 2. But answer is not 2. So this is undefined, no? So this is a totally, we should not think. Yes, momentum is conserved, but mathematically don't try to express it. So how to deal this problem? The coefficient of restitution is the only formula which is going to help us here. So here we'll bring the idea of line of impact. So shall we call this red color dotted line is a line of impact? How to define line of impact? If two objects collide, the common normal is what? Line of impact. This shall I give name? Line of impact. So along this direction only what happened? That impulses will act, no? So let's define this as positive. Towards right, let me take positive. Let me define the thing. So what is the quotient of restitution? The formula. Velocity of, relative velocity of separation. V2 bar minus V1 bar, U1 bar minus U2 bar. This is the basic definition. So what is V2? V2 will be 6 plus 6. And what are V2, V1? These are velocities measured along line of impact. In the definition of quotient of restitution, what are that V2, V1, U1, U2? They are velocities.
The negative sign will not be there.
V1 minus V2, no, it should be. If I remove this, it'll be like this, or we'll do one thing. This will be V2 minus V1, U2 minus U1. If you want to remove that negative sign, you can write U1 minus U2. Because often we'll forget that sign, no? I'll prefer this particular thing. Huh? Okay, that was the basic definition. We have defined it, you see. Velocity of relative velocity of separation to relative velocity of approach. I'll take you back there. Yeah. Negative sign should come. If you write V1 minus V2, U1 minus 2, or you change V2 minus V1, the negative sign, what can get eliminated. So let me take out negative sign because the numericals we do try to forget in exam. So V2 minus V1 by U1 minus U2. I think from definition I'll comment. We have started like this, no? Is that okay, no? Minus of V1 minus V2 bar, I'll write V2 minus V1. What are these? These velocities measured, velocities of colliding objects, velocities of colliding objects measured along line of impact. It's a strict condition. In two-dimensional collision, you'll try to understand. In one dimension, the velocity of object will be always along line of impact. In two dimensions, you'll come to know that the velocity of object need not be along line of impact. Then you have to take component. So time being, in one dimension, it doesn't make any much difference. In two dimension, you can see what is the use of this. Okay, let's directly apply the formula now. Let's directly apply the formula and get the velocity of the colliding ball, that one. According to the formula, E is equal to V2 bar, velocity of the ball, plus 6 V1. I don't know sign. Suppose the unknown thing, if you don't know sign, don't put it, just leave it. The sign will tell us. If you get positive, towards right. If you get negative, towards left. Like this. This will be. Then U1. U1 will be how much? Minus 2. That of the wall, plus 6. What is value of E? E, how much I give? Equal to 0.4. Substitute here, no? 6 minus V1 minus 8. Anybody value V1?
9.2.
2.8.
9.2.
So it will rebound with this much of speed. I got positive, so it will be towards right. So the quotient of restitution is what helped us a lot here, because you can't apply conservation of momentum. We can't, and Kf is less than Ki anyway. How much loss in contingency, you should measure it very perfectly, then you can predict here. So this will be better approach, no? The quotient of restitution. It's having wide application. Okay, let's come for the center of mass frame. What all we discussed, collision, no? Let's analyze in C frame. Till now what happened, we just focused only on in the lab frame. In C frame, how things will be. Let me take first elastic collision. It'll be easy for us to first analyze with elastic collision. I'll take two objects. It is moving with a speed u. Initial final state mass. What all we say, contingency considered initial final. In between what pen? K will be less than Ki, no? Between initial and final state should be conserved. And now there's an object 1, there's an object 2. It's a test. So let E equal to 1. Let's see in center of mass frame how the system will be. So the center of mass of system, let me give star mark. Here the center of mass will be moving with a velocity uc. And we know after collision, what will happen is the first body will come to rest and the second body starts moving with a and this will come to rest here. The first body will come to rest. Second body will move with the initial velocity of the first body. Let's check the center of mass thing. So first, let me calculate that velocities here. So from conservation of momentum, or you say, sir, how do you can say, we'll do one thing, I'll write V1, V2. I don't know what will happen. Let's calculate first in ground what will happen. Applying conservation of momentum, M1U, mu is equal to mv1 plus mv2. Will agree? So therefore u equal to v1 plus v2. Applying quotient of restitution, v2 plus v2 plus v1 plus u minus 0. E equal to 1. So v2 minus v1 by u, or u is equal to, adding up these two. So how much will get? V2 equal to u and v1 0. So what is the conclusion now? After impact, what actually happens? The first body will come to rest and the second body will move with the velocity of the first body. This is before collision, this is after collision. Okay, let's see in center of mass how the system will appear. This is in lab frame. To analyze in center of mass frame, we should know velocities of colliding bodies in center of mass frame. So I'll proceed like this. Initial velocity of first body with respect to center of mass. So it should be u1 minus uc. u1 is how much? U. Velocity of center of mass, u by 2. u2c should be equal to u2 minus uc. What is the initial velocity of second body? It was at rest, no? You can see from here, 0 u by 2. So in C frame, how the system will appear? In the C frame, the same system will appear. The first object will be moving with a velocity u1c, and the second object will be moving with a velocity u2c. Where we are doing in the C frame. So I think we have to put box like this. And in what direction the C frame is moving? In this direction. We'll calculate momentum with respect to center of mass. Initial momentum with respect to center of mass, m1 u1c minus mu 2c. And what are u1? So they should be equal to 0, no? So in ground frame, 2 is at rest, 2 is at rest, and 1 is approaching it. After collision, what happens? 1 will come to rest, and 2 will move with the velocity of the 1. But in center of mass frame, what happens? They are approaching each other with the same speed u by 2. They'll collide. Okay, after collision, let's see what will happen. Till now, this is after collision. After collision, we have this is diagram. This is after before collision. Before collision in C frame. After collision, so we'll calculate this one. U2C is equal to U2 minus UC. What is value of U2? U2 is U by 2. What about U1C? U1, oh, so okay, this should be V, no? Let me retain the symbols, it'll be easy for you. So V1 means final after collision, no? We are discussing. So V1 minus VC. What is V1? 0. This is U by 2. Look at that after collision. So how in the C frame, how the situation will be. So we'll put the box. And that box is moving with a velocity u2. There is the velocity of center of mass. Then this will and this will be the center of mass. This will be moving with a velocity v1c. This will be moving with a velocity v2c. After collision in C frame. Okay, look at this. After collision in C frame. So in the C frame, what will happen? The two objects will come collide. Where they collide? At center of mass, and they will move away. What about the speeds? Will be same. In C frame, both will come and collide with us. Both will approach with the same speed, collide, and after collision also, both will again move away with the same speed. Then what is the momentum with respect to center of mass? In C frame, we'll calculate momentum. How much it should be? M v1c minus m v1c plus m v2c. And magnitudes are equal. So now shall we say momentum with respect to center of mass always zero? This is very, very important. Momentum with respect to center of mass will always be zero. You take off any system. I think already in center of mass chapter, I just gave one examples. Momentum with respect to center of mass always zero. I think this is the very important thing which will help us to solve some of the problems. If you take some pathfinder, no, where if you solve the problem in C frame only, you can get the answer. Otherwise, not possible in lab frame. Lab frame, it will become very lengthy. C frame is what the int for that problem. When we go for 2 dimensions, no, you can see that the collisions in lab frame very lengthy, lot of mathematics, very complicated. In C frame, it will be very systematic and very simple. But in our syllabus, maximum we'll discuss problems on on lab frame only. The 2-dimensional collision better to learn in C frame. It'll be much easier than the lab frame. 1-dimensional collision, okay, lab frame is advisable. Straight away will get answers. 2-dimensional collision, it's a C frame is what going to help you a lot. I'm giving the best information on this one. 1-dimensional collision, take lab frame. 2-dimensional collision, better do in C frame. It'll be very easy for you to analyze the problem and very easy and flexible also. Better, I'm using word flexible, means less mathematics, you can get answers very easily. So momentum with respect to center of mass, always zero. Shall we put it? So in C frame, what actually happens? Bodies. It's not a general for this situation I'm bringing up. Bodies approach center of mass before collision. Next, bodies move away, approach or move away, you write it. Move away from center of mass. For this problem, I'm just giving the description. Then momentum with respect to center of mass is always zero. Not me, is I'm bringing. So this is also going to help us a lot, no? So you know momentum with respect to center is always before collision zero, after collision zero. During collision also will be zero. Momentum with respect to center of mass is always zero. So in the lab frame, one will come, two is at rest, one will come, collide, and after collision. So in the lab frame, what is the sequence? Two is at rest, one is moving. After collision, one will come to rest, two will move. In the C frame, what is the thing? Both will approach center of mass with the same speed, they'll collide. And where they collide? They collide at center of mass. And they will recede away with the same speed. And momentum with respect to center before and after collision will be zero. That's what it's telling here. Now you calculate again kinetic energy in the lab frame, kinetic energy in C frame. Kinetic energy in C frame should be minimum what we have already concluded in center of mass chapter. So you can, this C frame analysis you can do for any collision, elastic, inelastic. It's not that only for elastic collision, sir, you are doing, need not. You can do for any frame. Okay, now you check it. What happened the momentum? So you can ask, sir, how you conserve momentum? I give roughly the diagram, sir. Now it's very easy. What happened the velocity of center of mass before and after collision? This is some very important thing is what I'm trying to put forward. What happened the velocity of center of mass before and after collision? With what velocity center of mass was moving before collision? After collision also it will move with velocity of center of mass. Means you look at only center of mass. Don't look anywhere. Look at only center of mass. Will you feel any collision occur? Nothing, no? You feel as if nothing happened. This blocks will come, collide, and again this is the situation. But you look at only center of mass. Is there any change in velocity of center of mass? Nothing, no? So you look at only center of mass, what you feel? The center of mass just continued its uniform inertia of motion. As if nothing happened. So if there is a no net external force acting on system, am I right? Because velocity of center of mass didn't change. Go back to center of mass. If the velocity of center of mass remains constant, what does it mean? Net external force 0. Net external force 0. So here also depend. Though the forces acted during collision, but net external force is 0. If net external force 0, then I'll conserve momentum. There's a reason why I'm conserving momentum. Whose help I'm taking? From center of mass. Because now you may ask me the very first thing, no? You may ask me like, sir, on what basis are you sure that these two forces will be equal and opposite? That's all, no? There's a very best question student can ask a teacher. On what, like how can you say that this JD and this JD will be equal? They may be different. Means what this body will exert force, it may exert other force. Newton's third law will not permit, but nothing wrong in thinking. A student can think, no, sir, here force 10 Newton, here 8 Newton. Let it be different. What's wrong? Because you said the body will undergo deformation. Some elastic forces will come here, this one. So I'll assume different. No, you can't assume different. So what the center of mass is telling, the net force acting on system is in fact 0 during collision. The reason for that, the velocity of center of mass remained constant. If velocity of center of mass before and after collision were not equal, then I would have said net external force acted on system. Okay, got this? So what is the conclusion now we can make it? As VC equal to UC. So therefore, net external force acting on system is 0. Therefore, you have to conserve momentum. So why we have to conserve momentum? There's a reason. Due to collision, the velocity of center of mass didn't change. So therefore, net external force 0. So therefore, momentum is conserved. Got the idea now? So actually, I should teach this one. Huh? Because you don't have any of idea this no momentum, all this, how you sir V2 equal to you. That's why I just superficially I just brought that condition. So now I'm conceptually giving basic reason why momentum should be conserved. Okay, this is a theoretical. So what all we discussed next class is all about numerical. Nothing is there. Almost all theory got over. Okay, thank you all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
They will become
Thank
internal.
you, sir.
The forces that are acting during collision will become internal to colliding objects. That's why I'm writing no net external force 0 here. So the forces that are acting during collision, they'll become internal forces.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you all of you. Take care. Bye. See you. Evening class, I'll intimate. Evening class, I'll intimate time. Evening, we'll have paper discussion. Okay, all of you?
Yes, sir.